And today, as Gauranath Prabhu mentioned, he wants to, he wants us to delve into a little bit the topic of, we could use the word loyalty, if you got it there. The topic of loyalty. Everyone has loyalty to something or another. Dog may have loyalty to its master. We have loyalty to our own senses, if nothing else. Everyone has, we could take loyalty a little bit further than just something that sounds a little official, but faith or love, whatever. So let's see what happens today. We'll start with a little chanting. Everybody is familiar with Jai Radha Madhava? Yeah. If you're not, there may be anybody coming for the first time today. Please, hands up. First time to the temple here. Yeah. Several of you are first time coming. So, first time coming here. You've been to a Hare Krishna temple before? Never. Wonderful. How did you all come today? Did you see online, or how did you come? How did you come?
Yeah, we recently moved to Manchester, so that's why.
You
recently moved to Manchester from a different place.
Oh, you've been to a Hare Krishna program before?
Yeah, like I belong from Krishnagar, so which is near to Navadip, Mayapur Dham. So.
Oh, you're from Bengal?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So your homeland is the Hare Krishna movement. Nice. And our friends at the back there, how did you, the two elderly gentlemen there?
I found it online. I'm here for the first time. But
Found it online?
frequently the temple in Oslo, Norway.
Norway? Oslo, is that right? Are you from Norway?
Yes.
Oh, very nice. Are you living in Manchester now?
No, just listening.
Just visiting. You found it online. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for coming. And sitting along the line here, I think the two elderly gentlemen, you put your hand up too?
Oh, me?
No, right at the end, on the chairs.
I'm in the USA, right? It's from India, he says.
Pardon?
It's from India, he says. India.
He's from India.
From India.
India with Delhi? He's from Delhi.
Delhi. Are they visiting Manchester?
His son lives here, so he's come to visit his son.
Pardon?
His son lives in Manchester.
Oh.
He's come to visit his son.
Is the son here?
Yeah.
Where's the son?
He's on the way, by the way.
He's on the way. He dropped them off and... He's on the way. Okay. And how did you find out?
I met one of your devotees in the city of Manchester.
Okay.
And I bought one of the books. I think it's called Happy Chanting.
Chant to be happy.
Chant to
Chant to
be happy.
be happy. Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, that's how I found out.
There you go. See. Was it this young man here?
I remember seeing him, but it wasn't him.
It was. Good. You wouldn't have come if it was him. Good. Wonderful. Thank you for coming. It just goes to show how important it is that we, make it known to people that it is something you're welcome. It's not just something for past or another part of the world. It's open for everyone, but most people don't know. So, public, what do you call it? Marketing, isn't it? Yeah. Marketing. Now, much social media. Is somebody translating for our guests at the back into Hindi? I'm not going to have a stop-start program, but I think they don't speak English. I don't know, but they spoke in Hindi.
English. He can understand.
Excuse me?
He can understand.
Can understand. Okay.
Yeah, you can understand.
Hare Krishna. So for those who are coming or those who don't know, maybe have we got it here? Jai Radha Madhava?
Yes.
Is up there, is it?
Yes.
Looks. What is this? I can't. Devanagari. What's that doing there? Okay, interesting. The problem is, of course, that not everyone can see it because you're right against the wall there. Maybe you can. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janapalava Givarahari Gopi Janapalava Givarahari Gopi Janapalava Givarahari Yasodananda Yasodanandana Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimamandasya Mandiram Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupavadana Dadati Sakhatam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Shaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Namaste Shashunyavadi Ashtatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura-Bhakta-Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Somebody can give me a copy of Bhagavad Gita. And Devarshi, could you pop up and get my computer so let me wind it up? It should be in the room. I wasn't planning to use it, but we don't have the books. Today we're going to read from a book called Bhagavad Gita. Almost everyone is familiar with this book. Have you heard of this Bhagavad Gita? You have a copy?
I do have access to Bhagavad Gita at home.
You have a copy at home. Oh, really? Nice. So you may have I don't know which version you have, or which edition, but we're going to read from the translation and purport by the spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement, as it's called, particularly of Iskcon, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We sometimes forget you could say the very meaning of the movement itself. It's not just a movement, it is a society to awaken Krishna consciousness. And that's what this movement's for, basically. Many things are there. What is Krishna consciousness? Well, let's see. And just give me 1 or 2 moments here so I can just check to see if I have this book on here. Well, we could define Krishna consciousness in a very simple way. You may be nationally conscious, bodily conscious, conscious of various things. And Krishna consciousness is a little more than just a many-branched direction for our consciousness. Today's verse will explain what it is, and it is especially related to the topic which I was asked to touch on, loyalty to our spiritual master or spiritual guide. Let me just see if I've got it. Be under study guides. There it is. Under to me. Then chapter 2. There it is. Okay. If you want to follow, or put it on the screen up here, you're welcome.
What verse is it?
It's the 2nd chapter. It's text 41. Is somebody able to do that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, it would be nice. 241.
This is
Vyavasayatmika buddhir eke hukurvanda Bahu Shakayanam Testra Buddhayo Vyasayanam. Have you got it there? 241?
Yes, that's from the female.
I'll read from Prabhupada. This edition, of course, of the Bhagavad Gita, there are I don't know. Is it possible, it's a very high pitch on this speech, on this. Is there a way of toning it a little bit? It's kind of, I don't know about turning it down or putting more bass or less treble, I don't know what it is. But it's very high pitch, almost squeaky. So, this is just one of the editions of the Bhagavad Gita in this of Srila Prabhupada as spiritual teacher. Okay, now I'll adjust my voice. That's better for me. I don't know about for everybody else. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. It's less kind of like penetrating, isn't it? It's kind of almost like sharp. So Prabhupada wrote this, or translated and commented on the Bhagavad Gita, which is pretty much known throughout the world by so many people, and there are thousands of different editions in languages, different languages now. In English, I don't know how many, but there are hundreds. But hardly anywhere, the reason Prabhupada did this is because hardly anywhere do we find, by reading all these various editions, that somebody has become a surrendered soul or a pure devotee of the Lord, changed their lives. Whereas Srila Prabhupada's translation and commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, we can see by the results. Of course, other books, just like you receive Chant and Be Happy or some other literature, but the bottom of this is the Bhagavad Gita, and millions. How many have been distributed worldwide? I don't know, maybe
500 million.
Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? 500 million? That's a fairly large number. That's a very large number, 500 million. But a lot. I mean, they distribute in Delhi every year about 2 million. I don't know where they're all going. Anyway, this verse was one of the key verses which Srila Prabhupada emphasized. And with new members here today, or new friends here today, we will try to make it a little bit easier to digest. So I'm going to read from this now. It's probably on the screen, I would assume. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the cruise, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Which path? So, of course, a little bit has been explained up to now, but he's going to be, Krishna is speaking this verse, Krishna himself. And it refers to the path. Ultimately, different paths are there, but it's the path leading to self-realization, God-realization. And there are different paths, no doubt. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. But the conclusion of this teaching is that Krishna says, give them all up and take to the path of bhakti. They may be useful, even for an ashram, the social structure, to try to facilitate people's natures and also facilitate their becoming progressively God-conscious. But give them all up, and any other paths come to that. And just take shelter of me. This is the final directive, you could say, of the Bhagavad Gita. And this particular verse, Vyavasiyatmika Buddhi, Prabhupada says, a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life, called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. In some ways, intelligence is, in this case, is related, you could say, to the focus of our consciousness. The verse itself, those who are irresolute, those who are not fixed, their intelligence is going from one thing to the next. Maybe, family, nation, sport, and then all kinds of emotional reactions to world events, or anything. So many subject matters that their intelligence delves on. But those who are resolute in this path of spiritual life, who understand that this is the purpose of human life. Human life is not meant kamasya nendriya patilabu jivetayavada. It's not meant for this unending pursuit of sense gratification. Jivasya tattva jignas. It's meant for inquiry into the nature of the absolute truth. Mostly we're inquisitive about the relative truth. Whatever, it ranges from everything from science to basic daily needs. Relative truth is not absolute. It's relative to something, dependent on something else. Absolute truth is not. It is ever existing, permanent state. So inquiry about that state. And that's what Bhagavad Gita teaching of Krishna is aimed at. And this verse, not in terms of concluding what that is, but you could say the process, the practical application of the process. Fixed in purpose. The aim is one. Aim is one. We won't have time to get into that in much detail. But we can understand to a certain extent in this world when a person has a very strong resolve about something. For a certain period of time, up to a certain point, they have strong resolve. Their aim is one. Maybe it's for a girl for a boy, or a man to achieve some kind of position in society, or whatever, something which they're quite determined to achieve, and they're going to work. Everything is, even sportsmen, they put aside all kinds of various activities, and if they have a match or some event, and they really focus on being fit for that purpose. But it's only a short-term resolve. Whereas Krishna consciousness is interesting because, in this regard, because it pervades everything. Everything one does is in relationship with that goal. Everything. Whether it's sleeping, eating, mating, defending, driving a car, walking in the park, going to the beach, everything is related to it. Raising a family. This is the one pointed. It appears externally to be maybe somewhat different, but it's internally, the purpose is to see it in relation with Krishna and to try to engage, or let's say, mold that activity in relationship with Krishna. So a strong faith in Krishna consciousness, one will, by Krishna consciousness, one will be elevated to this perfection. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, this is another scripture, which again we don't have time to go into. Faith means unflinching faith in something sublime. Unflinching, I think we all know that word. It means, there's no doubt, there's no interference. It's unflinching. You don't waver. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Pretty much everybody does that. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness does not need to do that. Fruitive activities or material activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good and bad deeds. Our desires right now are karmic reactions. It's not just what we do or the suffering that we experience or the happiness, but it's actually the desire that's there in the first place is a karmic reaction. It's a circle, samsara circle going round and round. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activity. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subjected to dualities like good and bad. So you may say, well, what's this got to do with loyalty to Srila Prabhupada? Maybe it will come up in a minute. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. And renunciation is a little bit deeper than the surface understanding. Surface understanding is giving up. Giving up. Yes, it is giving up the material conception of life, but it's not giving up life, and it's not giving up what people would normally term as activities, but it's acting in Krishna consciousness. We don't give up activity in the Bandha Krishna Sambandhi Varagya Uchite. We don't give up activity. Renunciation is not giving up activity, but it's giving up the concept that I'm the doer, that this is mine, these material objects are for my pleasure. It's giving up this, we could say, false egocentrical perception of seeing myself in the center and seeing everything in relationship with Krishna. It's his energy, so we try to utilize it. How can you give up something which doesn't belong to me? If some of you have obviously got cars, well, I'd say obvious, I assume. Some of you have. You have a car? You do. Is it outside? Yes. What type?
Toyota.
A Toyota, toy. He's got a toy car outside. Big toy, eh? Okay. You have a BMW or a Mercedes? Mercedes. So Raj has a Mercedes. It's a bigger car than your toy. His car is mercy, a car full of mercy. So if I go out there now and say, I renounce Raj's Mercedes. I renounce it. Well, what is this? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's not mine to renounce, is it? I can say I'm not going to steal it. I'm not going to break it, scratch it or something, but I can't say I renounce it exactly. You can say you renounce the concept of owning it, but you can't renounce it per se, because it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. Or, materially speaking, we'd say that. Huh? So when we understand that nothing really belongs to me, what have we got to renounce? If you give me the key for your car and say, can you go to the shop and buy something? I know it's not my car. I just do what you're telling me to do. And I'm not going to kind of drive the car and smash it into a wall and, take the chairs out and sell them. Leave the car outside with no wheels on or something, Because it's your car. Even if it was mine, I wouldn't probably do that anyway. But, you respect it. So when we understand everything belongs to Krishna, then we'll look after it. We're not going to deny it, but we're going to use it the way Krishna wants. That's the secret. And that's the secret of loyalty, is to find, if you're loyal to, say you're in the army. Have any of you ever been in the army? Anyone? You were in the army?
The Royal Marines.
Pardon?
As an officer in the Royal Marines.
Marines?
Yeah, the Royal Marines.
In the Royal Marines.
A long time ago.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be loyal to the cause, isn't it? You can't do your own thing. You may like or not like. If you're especially when there's a crisis or something. People will give up. They have to be ready to give up their lives, isn't it? I mean, some of your, maybe not so many of yourselves here, but if you're from England or some European country, it's quite possible your parents were in the Second World War. Those who are a little older, or some other war. My father was in the Second World War. He got shot. I mean, he didn't die. He just survived. But they were willing to give it. They were willing to give anything up. They hardly slept, he told me, for days on end. They were constantly on the front line. People. Dangerous situation, but for the nation, very loyal to the cause, you could say. We'll read on. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. It's just not sentiment only. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadulabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Krishna or Vasudeva is the root of all manifested causes. There's a cause behind everything. Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Source of everything. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone. The highest service. Pure devotees of the Lord's representatives, they're giving the greatest service to society because they're giving knowledge of the purpose of life, knowledge of how to achieve it. This is the greatest knowledge of how we can remove suffering forevermore, freeing us from birth and death. This is real knowledge. This is real gift to society. Opening of hospitals and schools and feeding people and educating, whatever it is going to go on, and it's meant to go on also, but it's not the highest purpose of life. It doesn't stop this cycle of suffering due to ignorance. Knowledge removes ignorance. Material knowledge removes material ignorance to some degree, but to remove it entirely, only real knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And that's the great gift. Loyalty to Prabhupada means that we're putting that in the forefront. We're not here to make happy family exactly, to have some nice, mode of goodness, interactions, that's also there maybe, but that's not the goal. The goal is to take this up. And we can't really be loyal to Srila Prabhupada unless we have this understanding, this knowledge. Where did we get to? I don't know where we got to, but I'm going to read somewhere here. Watering the tree. Automatically by watering the tree, all other purposes are served. There's another verse, 2 or 3 down the line. Yavan arta udapane sarvatak samplatatake. That by one who knows, the purpose behind the Vedas is understood to what the Vedas mean, knowledge, scriptural knowledge, knows the purpose behind it, is a knower of everything. Just like in a great reservoir of water, everything is there. You have a small pond. Material is like a small pond. Spiritual life is like a great reservoir. And if one is in that, entering that great reservoir, whatever you find in the small pond is automatically contained. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, everyone will be satisfied. That's interesting. It may not be from the material perspective. This is a spiritual perspective. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. This is how it awakens. By hearing from somebody or associating with some devotee or persons who are in Krishna consciousness, our own dormant Krishna consciousness can awaken. Like if we're sleeping, maybe somebody comes and wakes us up. We need the help of others. So spiritually, and especially spiritually, to bring us to our awareness of the real purpose of life. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna. It's like in the army or the Royal Marines or anything. You have to obey the authority, otherwise, you get a different result. And one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers to the spiritual master as follows: Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada, Yasya prasada nagati katoti, Dayam stuvam stasyaya sastri samyam, Vande Guru Sri Charanaravind. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. This is the link. To satisfy. Loyalty means to satisfy the spiritual master, not ourselves. And sometimes we have this mentality of, I like, I want. And we try to impose that in our relationship with God. Give me this, give me that, or with the spiritual master. By satisfying the spiritual master, there's no chance of being promoted. Not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day. This is not, you can take this literally, but it's the statement of Vishwanath Chakravarti, one great devotee. And offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the concept of the body. Otherwise it might be some sentimental attractions, fine. But if we really want to be fixed in genuine loyalty, then this knowledge, not just knowledge in theory, that's okay, that's the beginning. But the practice without knowledge becomes realized. We're not this body. We're eternal spirit soul. Practically. So we act on that practical platform under the direction of the self-realized soul. Practical. He engages, or they engages, in activities which may be, according to our constitution, our nature, or they may not be. And they may sometimes be a little bit, if you go to school, you have to probably study things, do things you may not naturally like, but it's part of the course which one has to undergo. So I want to speak it spiritually. When there is no longer a chance for sense gratification, one who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive activities or sensual activities, material sensual activities. Now, I'm going to read a little bit from Bhurijan Prabhu, who is one of Prabhupada's most senior. Gauranath said I'm one of the senior disciples, but whatever that means, everything's relative. But when we say senior disciples, I tend to look towards the very early disciples, 1960s. I came in 71, which is 70 some years later. In the 60s, late 60s, one of those disciples named Bhurijan Prabhu, and he's very much into knowledge, understanding this knowledge. So, Vyavasayatmaka buddhi. One pointed intelligence is required for success. In any line of life, basically, is required. And in spiritual life, absolutely. Srila Prabhupada once told his disciples that in the 1950s, before he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world, he read the commentary on this verse written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He said he was struck by the commentary, which further fixed him in his resolve to follow his spiritual master's order. He received a direct order. Loyalty is we receive a direction, an order, and we follow it. It's quite simple in one sense. We make that our life and soul. So he made that order his life and soul. What was that order? Who knows what the order which Srila Prabhupada received? What was it? Yes, Prabhu, hand up there.
To spread Krishna consciousness in the West.
Good, well done, thank you. To preach Krishna consciousness in English, which, if you want to put it geographically, was primarily in the West, but anywhere. He tried to do it in India, but it wasn't very well received. So he eventually came to the Western Hemisphere to spread or offer Krishna consciousness to others. And from that, it has now kind of like gone around the world and come back to India. And now millions of Indian people have become serious about Krishna consciousness. And now Krishna sent them to Manchester. And now they're going to become serious like Prabhupada did in convincing them. The local Mancunians, is that what you call them? Mancunians? About Krishna consciousness, right? Right? Yeah, in your Toyota. All over Manchester preaching Krishna consciousness. Okay? Everywhere. This is the desire anyway. If we're really loyal, then we have to be loyal to the... loyalty is not like, you got your spiritual master to tell you to do what you want to do. But it's to understand, it's not even he tells you, it's to understand his heart. Or, without having to all the time ask. To realize what will please Krishna through the media of the spiritual master. From acting that way. Let's give a simple example. Very simple one. Kirtan. Everybody, or not everybody, but Kirtan, what does it, someone can tell us. Kirtan, what does it mean? Kirtan. Yes,
The topmost process of devotional service.
the topmost what?
Process.
Okay, that's not necessarily a definition of Kirtan per se, but that's his position in the realm of devotional service. It's the topmost of all the various sadhanas practices, Kirtan. But what does Kirtan mean in terms of, let's say it's, definition is the word? I don't know.
Glorify the Lord.
Okay, very nice. Kirti. This glorification of the Lord. In various ways. It doesn't exclude other activities per se, but it's more specifically, it's through, prayers or singing or vocal glorification. And we are, go a little bit further, Sankirtan. Sankirtan means?
Together. Glorifying together.
Together, okay. It also means together, yeah. Or glorification, complete glorification. I mean, with everything. It's not just the voice, but the whole existence in that regard, glorifying the Lord. Sankirtan. So, how do we come on to that? Can't remember how we came onto that topic, what it means. Does anyone backtrack a couple of sentences?
Prabhupada came to West to spread Krishna consciousness.
That's a fact. But I can't quite piece it together with the loyalty factor.
You said that.
Oh, I was giving an example of Kirtan. That's how it came about. Yes. So, everybody pretty much worldwide over likes various kinds of kirtan, even persons who are not interested in the philosophy. When it's presented nicely, it's very attractive. Very attractive. All over the world. But our loyalty is that we try to present kirtan in a way, ultimately, which is pleasing to Krishna. We don't know what pleases Krishna necessarily. We find out through the media of the spiritual master. That's the process normally. There's the scriptures, but then we interpret according to our perception. So we hear from those who know. It's a simple thing. If you want to entertain someone, for instance, ladies, say for instance, you invite someone to your home for dinner, okay? And you are inviting a very, say a Mancunian or a local man from Manchester. He's not Indian, okay? He and his wife are not Indians. So you think, oh, very nice. We like hot curry. We cook it very well. We love to cook hot curry. I'm sure he'll love it. So, you make everything hot and spicy. Your Mancunian friends may or may not like hot curry. And they won't be very happy, if they first mouthful there's like one shark is in there. Shark. And if you call them shark, these little tiny red chili that are like fire as soon as they touch your tongue. You can't taste anything else for the next 24 hours. You certainly can't taste anything in the meal, even the sweet rice tastes like fire. So what you do, you first of all inquire, what do they like to eat, isn't it? You don't assume or guess or impose your own tastes on them. You find out what they want. That's, loving reciprocation in one sense. Maybe like chips, apple pie. I know people like around here. I won't mention what they like, but they may like those things they may like. So you cook something, you prepare something they may like. Same thing in spiritual life. Same thing in kirtan. One of our tests is in kirtan. Would you do that if we realized Srila Prabhupada was sitting there? Would you sing that? Would you do that? That's the question to ask, isn't it? That's an indication whether that's pleasing to Krishna. Being loyal to the spiritual master means understanding what we need to do to please Krishna. And it's interesting because in the actual commentary, let's see, and I just read it there, I was a little surprised. I'll read what it says here, because there'll be different translations. Of all kinds of intelligence, the best is intelligence focused on Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, which means the yoga of devotion, one's intelligence becomes single-pointed or fixed in determination. Determination means not to terminate, never stops, no matter what happens around us. One thinks the instructions of my spiritual master, so it's right here, the instructions of my spiritual master to worship the personality of Godhead by chanting, remembering, serving his feet, and so on are my only sadhana, my only sadhya, my only livelihood. I am incapable of giving up these instructions, either in the stage of practice or in a stage of perfection. It's not like a means to an end. This is our nature, spiritual constitution, to act in a way to please Krishna. This is loyalty. In our stage, we can use the word loyalty. On a spiritual platform, we wouldn't use that term. It's our nature. There's nothing else. That is our nature. In this world it's not, at least not directly. So this is how we change or transform, by being loyal to the spiritual master's instructions. Sometimes we make promises in our life, initiation or marriage or something, to be loyal to those vows, so to speak. We're not always so good at it, but that's the process. And being loyal to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said you can become an expert preacher or teacher or sharer of Krishna consciousness if you hear nicely. Being loyal to Prabhupada means to hear nicely, to hear from him, and then to repeat that, perhaps with your own realizations or slightly your own words, but not to change the teaching. That's loyalty. To perform kirtan the way that the spiritual master would be pleased or taught us. We have so many, let's say, varieties of kirtan. Now, it's a very broad subject matter because there are many different venues now for kirtan. It's not just in the temple or on the street. And one has to see, to a certain extent, a little bit of common sense, what is effective. We have to be very careful that we don't start to compromise or introduce our own interpretation, our own, because I like it, therefore, mentality. We always have to keep this in mind. If we're serious about becoming Krishna conscious, big subject. They alone are my object of desire and my only responsibility. Besides them, I can desire no other responsibility. The instructions of my spiritual master. Not even in my dreams. It is all the same to me whether I feel happy or unhappy, or whether my material existence is eradicated or not. In other words, selflessness. Loyalty to the spiritual master is the process where we develop this selflessness. Unconditional. The definition of pure devotion, pure love of God. Anyabilasita shunyam. Jnana kamadinavatam. Anukulena Krishna vishyanam. This is the definition. It means that without any other desire or intention whatsoever for elevation, liberation, material achievement, mystic powers, devotional service has none of that influence. It's pure. It's anukulena Krishna. It's anukulam. That which is completely pleasing to Krishna. And Krishna reveals that through the media of the spiritual master. And the more we follow that, then it becomes a realization, not just theory. Especially when it comes to assisting the spiritual master in spreading. Prabhupada didn't come to the Western world for any other reason than to fulfill his spiritual master's instruction. And particularly to preach or teach or spread or share, whatever word you wish, the message of Bhagavad Gita, the mission of Lord Chaitanya, this Sankirtan mission, for the welfare of all living entities, for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, and for the welfare of every single living entity. Doesn't matter who they are, even the birds. We were at the park this morning, thousands of birds. Hare Krishna. You're allowed to feed them under certain conditions. We can give them prasadam. They like rice. Give them some rice. Start their spiritual life. Like that, the devotee is always thinking of the welfare of others. Because he knows that knowledge of our constitution, knowledge of our relationship with God, knowledge of God, and many other avenues of necessary knowledge are essential They're essentials for a living entity wants to actually achieve the pure state of happiness, the state beyond this material world. Now that's the devotee, he's thinking like that. Srila Prabhupada was the emblem of Paradukkha Dukhi, which means they have no suffering on their own account. Their suffering is to see the suffering of others. And they're living to try to alleviate that suffering. That's their purpose. They're an ocean of compassion for all the living entities. Full of compassion. And that's why they share Krishna consciousness. So we can be a part of that ocean or that flow of mercy by assisting them in whatever way we can. To loyalty to Prabhupada, if you all at all want to, if you feel at all indebted to me, if you at all feel indebted in any way, then please preach this Krishna consciousness, following in my footsteps. Somehow or another, we don't want to remain spectators. Become a part of this mission of the Lord. And if we have this chance, even if in a small way, wherever we go, you can take an address to the temple, a card. You can take some prasadam. Maybe the ukuleles can make some cookies or some sweets. And wherever you or your husband or family, if they're interested, go, they can take it with them. And you never know who you can meet. I felt bad. We went to the park this morning and I forgot to bring any magazine or book with me. We didn't have much of a direct interaction, but if we had them, we probably would have had an interaction. Krishna would have sent somebody. Carry a magazine or a book or a leaflet or something with you. Think. Use our intelligence. What would please Krishna? This is what it's all about. It's not a social club. We're here to understand and practically live what life to please Krishna. It's very rare in Manchester that you could say, today we need an aircon. I can see the poor little child there, the mother's very busy fanning the baby, isn't it? It's very hot for the child. I would imagine, I don't know, but we don't really know, but I assume it is. And it's rare that you need air conditioner in Manchester, isn't it? A few days we're having a bit of a heat wave. Anyway, that's something else. But take this opportunity. Think like that. What would please Krishna is the ultimate question, of course. And even here it says, it's interesting, we don't always hear it like that, but where's that other book? This is the actual translation. This is a commentary by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur himself on that verse. And it may say the same, but it's not quite the same. He says, my sadhana. What is sadhana? Nothing to do with being sad. My sadhana. What is it?
Daily practice.
Our practices, yeah. We could say in simplicity, my sadhana, a set of practices to achieve a goal. My sadhana is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, to remember and glorify Him as instructed by my Guru. So that was another angle of loyalty. It's not just the Guru, but it's in relation with Krishna. Sometimes we become a little bit culty, a little bit fanatic. We forget what the Guru wants. I don't, yes, in one sense we can see it like that, but we have to understand what it means to, surrender to a spiritual master or be follower of the spiritual. What does he, it means you do what he wants, not what I want. And he's saying clearly, remember Krishna. Prabhupada said this over and over again. That's why he called it the Krishna consciousness movement. He didn't call it the Prabhupada consciousness movement. Krishna consciousness movement. And that's the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, to become Krishna conscious. And all gurus. To remember and glorify him as instructed by my guru. That is also my goal. My sadhana, my practice to remember Krishna. And it's my goal. So being loyal to Prabhupada is, you have to bear that in mind. It's not just, some kind of blind following. It's to be conscious of Krishna. Krishna says, all your activities, be conscious of me. And that's what Prabhupada told us. That is my only goal. It is my life-sustaining medicine, for I cannot give up the sadhana and the sadhya, the practice of remembering Krishna, the goal of remembering Krishna. This is my most desirable object, my duty, and nothing else is my duty. Nothing else is desired, even in dreams. There may be happiness or sorrow. Samsara may be destroyed or may not be destroyed. That is no loss for me. That there be only one resolute intelligence fixed in pure bhakti. Same thing, just a bit more direct. That's pleasing the spiritual master. The awakening our consciousness of Krishna in every way. And that, of course, without following the instructions of the spiritual master, will not happen. Krishna won't reveal it. Desham satate yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. That's what it means. We're, assisting and following the instruction of the spiritual master. Krishna gives the understanding. Krishna reveals himself as a surrender unto me. He reveals himself. That's how it works. So this loyalty, you could go into every single topic. You can dissect it in so many ways, but basically speaking, is this foundational principle. I wanted to sing, but there's no time. One of the most remarkable pieces of writing which Srila Prabhupada revealed to the world. In fact, it was the first thing which he wrote when he came to America. Markine, Bhagavata, Dharma. Remarkable. I mean, we do have time, but we don't, if we exclude the kind of, some of the kirtan period, we could sing it. But the meaning of this song is the essential, you could say, what is essential for us to digest or understand if we really want to please Krishna. And I'll just look at the translation of that. Just give me a second. That amazing Markine Bhagavata Dharma of Srila Prabhupada. Get out of here. And where will I go? I'll find it in many places. I'll go through it. Do you have it on there? I have it here, if you can connect my computer through Bluetooth or something. I have to find it first, of course. It won't take me 1 minute. Very deep meditation. We don't realize what we're missing. We don't realize it. Have you got it already?
Yes.
You're very quick. What does it look like?
Baru Kripa Karva Krishna.
Yeah, is it in like all the diacritic marks are there?
Yeah.
Sanskrit marks are there? Very good. Okay, so you've achieved your purpose. As sadhana and as sadhya. I have on PowerPoint very kind of illustrated with all kinds of pictures and whatever. But anyway, we'll stick with that. And we're ready to go. Boston, 1965. We're going back 60 years almost exactly, isn't it, in time? When Srila Prabhupada, there used to be a television program, The Lone Ranger. Nobody's saying anything, though I guess it's no longer on the television. But it was a famous one in the 50s, which we used to watch, like this so-called cowboy hero. I didn't like him, I liked the Indians. He was the Lone Ranger. Prabhupada was the Lone Ranger. Nobody on the planet Earth, nobody knew practically what was about to happen. Nobody cared. The Vietnam War was starting, there was all kinds, there was a heat wave, people were dying. Things were going on here and there in the world and people's minds were carried away. But nobody knew that Prabhupada arrived in America, in Boston, on September the 17th, 1965, in a cargo ship. Prabhupada alone, with no money, no support. And Prabhupada himself said, when he got off the boat, he didn't know whether to turn right or left. It's another misapprehension we sometimes have. Knowing everything means that they know that Krishna's behind everything. It's not like, that kind of, what's this, artificial intelligence, AI. You press it and it's supposed to give you the answer to everything. It's not like that. Knowing everything means that they put Krishna in the center no matter what's going on. This is the real thing, Krishna conscious. Mobile phone is coming here now, it's being passed around. Hey, what is this for you? Oh, that's your mobile. Oh, okay, so just passing it around from person to person here. So this song, Prabhupada compiled the next day, September the 18th, 1965. And some of us were born, some of us were alive at that time in this body. Most of you probably weren't. You were probably not around then, were you? Your Toyota was definitely not around then. Neither was your Mercedes. Was your body around? Your body must have been around in 65, wasn't it? Or a similar body, the body she had then.
Born 65.
You were born then? Oh my God, what date?
24th of May.
Okay, so you were a baby at that time. Where were you?
In Iran.
Iran at that time. Amazing, a little baby. You didn't know, you can't imagine you were a little baby. You had no idea that Prabhupada was in America. Of course you weren't ready for that, but I had no idea. What was I doing then, I was a schoolboy. In September, I guess we were at school at that time. Most of you were not around, huh? Or if you were, you have no idea. You were around then, weren't you? 65?
Just been born for a couple years before.
63?
Yeah.
You can't remember anything either.
I can't remember much about it.
Ah. A few of the other ones at the back were around, but they were probably in India. I had no idea Prabhupada was in Delhi, but most people didn't know anything about him. Came along, loyal to his spiritual master. What a risk he took. 70 years old, He wasn't like a young man with everything set up there in America, Would you do that? Now, of course, the world's changed. But very few people moved in those days. It was a tremendous endeavor to get out of India for him with no money. In those days, you couldn't do that. It was not possible. Right? To get the green card, to get the P form from the State Bank of India, it was impossible. Impossible. Even a passport. It was not easy. He had no money. Krishna arranged. And he took this great risk to go there alone, to preach. He could have died. The winter was so harsh. And he was living in a little tiny cupboard, basically. fulfill the order of his spiritual master. He took that risk, and we're all here because of that. If he hadn't done that, we would be, none of us would be sitting here. None of us. There would be no Gaudiya mass outside of some small temples in India, fighting with each other. There'd be no Ritvik. Thank God. There'd be nothing. You'd all be here if you came to England at all. You'd all be like absorbed in your, material pursuits. Isn't it? There'd be nothing if Prabhupada hadn't done that. He alone amongst his Guru Maharaj's disciples took this up as his life and soul. Everyone followed to whatever extent, no doubt. But this, nobody else did. Nobody. Srila Prabhupada had that, you could say, unique, alone. He was special. Brought this Krishna consciousness into a foreign land, not into a fertile field, you could say, difficult, to say the least, where even his accent was hardly understandable. Everything was different. The food, the weather, the people, their behavior. Practically nobody was following any of the regulated principles. Nobody was chanting Hare Krishna. A few fussy old ladies practicing yoga of some kind. And that was about it. A few Indian gurus had gone there and compromised everything, eating this, eating that, getting money off of people, but not giving the pure message of Krishna consciousness to anyone. They didn't even have it themselves. He was the Lone Ranger. And he compiled this song, or this poem, in Bengali, when he was in Boston, in the harbor, inside his little tiny cabin. He wrote this, opened his heart, you could say, to the Lord. And I'm going to read the translation first, because it's good to know, especially if we're not Bengali, what it is that we're singing and doing. We shouldn't just be blind, mindless. My dear Lord Krishna, Prabhupada said, you were so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Newcastle. No, where is it? New York. Manchester, in England. Same thing, but New York, everyone dreamed, or they did, they dreamed of going to New York. The whole of India was dreaming of going to New York. But not for Krishna consciousness, for material reasons. The Prabhupada called it, he'd only just arrived in Boston, not even New York. This terrible place, he had a little walk around and concluded this is a terrible place. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of nature, ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied. Like a madman, thinks he's kind of fine, a drunkard, an intoxicated person. They're all intoxicated by this mundane life. And preaching to each other is all good, we're going to make it better. And therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. This is Prabhupada's writing, and don't think this is not what he's feeling. This is a written form of his heart. But I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. It's not that I can do it, no. Rather simply depending on Krishna. I'm your instrument. All living entities have come under the control of illusory energy by your will. That sounds like we have no choice, but no. We have our desire to be separate from Krishna, but without Krishna's will, we cannot have that facility provided. So with Krishna's will, because we want it, he places us in this illusion. And by your will, Krishna, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. This is the whole process of devotional service, to try to evoke Krishna's mercy to deliver us from this world and reinstate us in the spiritual atmosphere. I wish that you may deliver them, Prabhupada says. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. Now this is a very significant line. The understanding of the message. It's not just about reading it. Everyone can read the books, but to understand what it really is, that's the mercy of Krishna. We have to, say, deserve that mercy by making this sincere endeavor to make this sacrifice. And when you preach this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and Krishna himself says in the 4th chapter, those worded differently in different translations, but in short, those who apply this knowledge in their life realize this knowledge in course of time. It's a realization when you apply it. So when you spread this message or give this to others, then Krishna gives himself to you. The knowledge is revealed. The realized knowledge, not just the memory or the theory or the analysis which some people have. The actual realization, it becomes a reality. It's not just something we remember, but it's a living existence. To understand your message. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your instruction, and if a sober person repeatedly receives it, sober doesn't mean that they had a party last night and they're not drunk anymore. But it's applicable to a general lifestyle, that they're not intoxicated by sense gratification. And receives it with submissive oral reception. This is key to, this process is submission or hearing submissively. Then he will be able to understand your message. He will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. And then there's a quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 2, some famous verses. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, means the Lord in the heart, in everyone's heart, and the well-wisher of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages. I'll put it on the slideshow, it'll be easier to read. Which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service, that means you never stop, you never give it up, you never go back. It takes time. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, no mixing, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive, scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. It's vinegar. We have this knot in our hearts, binding us in this material. And this remembrance of Krishna, this hearing about Krishna, Chindanti Kovidas Tasya Kona Kut Katavritim, can be cut by remembering the personality of Godhead. It cuts that knot. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says? I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, most fallen. Therefore I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or another, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or a failure, as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So, if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I'm sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like. You can take that literally, but it does mean more than just literal. It just basically means I'm not your puppet, as Prabhupada said. Do what you want with me. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. Because Prabhupada does have knowledge, but in humility he's saying, I have no knowledge. I've been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, 18th of September, 65. This is one of the most significant. Why? It's like the constitution of Iskcon, because it's the underlying mood, the attitude, the spirit of this movement, the spirit which Srila Prabhupada is expressing in this poem. So we'll try to sing it. We would love to have somebody who can play it. Can you play this on harmonium?
I'll try anyway.
Who's the best harmonium player in the room or out nearby? They really have to listen carefully. The whole process of Krishna conscious growth rests on this ability to hear carefully and not speculate, not to speculate. Give it a try if you can. I know you really try very sincerely to hear and hope you can pick it up. Interesting, we're just coming up to the 60th anniversary of this event in a couple of months. And you should remember Prabhupada was, physically speaking, alone. He was never alone. He never forgot the instruction of his spiritual master to preach. And he never forgot his spiritual master. And Prabhupada said, I never forgot Krishna. Remembering the spiritual master means remembering Krishna also. Not one or the other. Is it up there? Text 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Baro kripa koile Krishna Adamer Rati Baro kripa Kilagia nileka koro ebegati Kilagia nileka koro You should go down a little bit on the last syllable there. Hache kichu kajataba eanumane Hache kichu kajataba Anumane Nahe ke no anibe Eyuga stane Nahe ke no anibe Rastane Rajastamo Gunehera Sahayacha Rajastamo Vasudeva Sutashi Mahesi Prasanna Vasudeva Sutashi Mahesi Jari Tava Kripa Anhui Tuki Tave Jari Tava Kripa Oyo Moi Tuki Sakali Sambhavoy Bhumi se Kosuki Sakali Bhave Pujale Seva Bhave Heta kripa kavavo koini Ichaya Sabha Maya Bhagavata
Jai
Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna. You can see that being loyal means more than just doing things, but it's also to understand the mission and to have the attitude internally to please Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Janananda Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.